Afternoon, and wherever you are in this wide, wonderful, beautiful world that we live in, you are very welcome to my LinkedIn live chat with some phenomenal people. And today, that way I've got it correct, is I've got the legendary Jack Black. So I'm really looking forward to having a catch up and a really good discussion with him. And we're back. So we're back on LinkedIn Live. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and also YouTube as well, across all of these channels. So you can come back and watch them at a later stage. I've known Jack for, probably about 7-8 years. Went to one of his courses in Dublin, Ireland, and I was blown away. So I came back again. And I did the extreme stuff as well with Jack, and that was a good few years back now, but it took me to a next level of subconscious, unconscious thinking. But Jack, rather than me talk about me, give yourself a quick introduction. I know you've been doing this for over 30 years now.
Yeah, so the thing I would say to everybody is, you hear numbers like 30 years, but as some of your older people will know, it goes by like that.
Yeah.
And it goes by like that with or without conscious awareness. It goes by like that with or without being focused on stuff you want to manifest in your life. So anyway.
Absolutely. Like you created some wonderful processes and techniques and how you can restructure your inner landscape, I would say, to make yourself work and perform a lot better in the real world. But you have to do the work inside to create the visuals inside your mind to come up and then take action in the real world and make things real to how you like. I'll probably trying to explain it in the best way that I possibly can. So, what are you up to nowadays, Jack? I'm fascinated. After pre-COVID, you were super busy. You're doing lots of stuff, and then we went into 3 years of COVID. But now we're out of that. How's your life forming now?
Well, I think COVID. I mean, I remember I started a big project which I'm still working on now with a corporate client in the January. And then into the February, and then by March we started to have the panic with COVID, and I found myself realizing that lots of people who had previously been like yourself in courses with me or had done programs. I mean, I reckon I've worked with over 500,000 people, so there's a lot of people I thought out there that probably were getting caught up in I'm going to say the fear and anxiety at that particular time. It was getting mounted every night on our newsreels and stuff for obvious reasons at the time and the way we were understanding what was unfolding. But I realized that people needed help with anxiety.
Yeah.
So I started went on with the best of intentions. I'll do a Facebook thing, maybe put it on YouTube. I did 1 week, then I found I should do another one. And before I knew where I was, I did about 52, one after the other, weekly live sessions. And I got to interview fantastic people to influence me, people who were thought leaders at the time, people, professors, doctors, a whole mix of wonderful people. It was amazing. Learned a lot. But then when we got past the year, I realized I'd been doing it for a year and I thought, I need to take a break from this. And I literally took a break and have done more or less from all social media.
Yeah.
Which I found really exhilarating not to be connected. But I'm still working away. I've worked with various clients, but a particular client I'm doing a lot of development work with, which has been fantastic. And the boss there, who's a big mind store person. I think he did his first course 27 years ago now and done many since.
Wow.
He's brought me into various companies at which he's worked in. And him and I are developing an extraordinary program in leadership at the moment, which is really exciting. But given your field, I've been still working with their salespeople, their marketing people, their manufacturing people, and we've been doing a lot of interesting stuff.
I'm curious about the leadership, but I'm also curious about the sales stuff because, like, as you know, I'm a sales relationship coach. I mean, yes. I've been in sales for many of a day. Now I do a lot of training and coaching. Yeah. I work alongside the likes of Google and all that. But what we tend to find is there's a lot of, I don't know if you've noticed it, there's a lot of stress internally, but it's coping with it. And sales is very stressful because you got lots of numbers that you need to achieve. Yeah. Yeah. Leaders are giving you pressure, but also they're under pressure as well to do the best that they possibly can. Like I understand the some of the stuff that you taught me because it works. I know it works because I practice it. And
yes.
And from your point of view, how do you enable others to get what they want?
Look, I think I've been doing this for 30 years, so I think I've kind of figured out what is critical.
Yeah.
I would say for me, there are 6 fundamental characteristics that we all need to model constantly with to be at our very best. And the first one is we've got to manage our stress. You've mentioned it. If we don't manage your stress, then how can you show up being the best version of yourself? You can't.
Yeah.
So having strategies, having method, and I pride myself in techniques that you've already said that work. So I still teach those techniques. I reckon I've got the best suite of stress management tools on the planet because it's my field and I check what's developing. I haven't found anything that would alter what I'm doing. And 30 years on, I'm still doing it. So it must be working or they wouldn't still be coming after me. So that's the first thing. Second thing, you got to have inevitably a positive mental attitude. Negativity isn't going to do it.
Yeah.
But people get that intellectually, of course they do, but they don't necessarily have strategies for managing thought patterns. So I deal with that. The third one for me is you've got to be a futurist. You've got to be someone who is less concerned about your performance yesterday, but more about how about my performance today. Less concerned about what happened 20 years ago or 30 years ago, whatever. I mean, history is interesting, but we're living now, and our now is shaping tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so being very clear about what you want to manifest and what we want to create, and may I say, not at the expense of other human beings. Every one of us, it seems to me, has a right to show up to be the best we can be. But ultimately, I figured out that's only if we're here to serve. So if I win, somebody else has to win at some level. Not that I win and someone else is losing. And so I'm very big on futurism. And 1981, when I was a much younger man, science breakthrough with the left and right brain hemisphere. It was a Nobel Prize breaking sort of research, understanding. And it's amazing how many people would say to me in an audience they would never fundamentally sort of dismiss a Nobel Prize, and yet this one you dismiss almost every day.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm big on developing your right brain, having an idea of equality between your creativity, your imagination, your intuition, believe it or not, and your left brain logic. So it's not all about spreadsheets and your boss or yourself beating yourself up because you're not hitting a target, but working with your right brain to get creative and innovative so that you do. And more importantly, go beyond your target. And so that's the fourth. And the fifth characteristic, I kind of got into about 15 years ago with a breakthrough. You need to manage your emotions.
Yeah.
I think in sales, for example, there's only one positive emotion, and that's love.
Yep.
Loving what you do, loving your product, loving your customers, all that basic, understandable woo-woo stuff we kind of get. But then you got to overcome the 4 negative ones. Anxiety or fear, I'd lump that into one. Guilt, anger, and envy. So I got a toolkit for managing all of that to free up anybody wanting to aspire to be the best they can be, particularly salespeople. And then because of COVID, because I interviewed all those people, because I searched, I'm now pretty certain, in fact, I'm absolutely certain, we need to be metabolically flexible. Because they called that one, I think it was COVID, was it COVID-19?
Mm-hmm.
So there must have been an 18 and a 17, which means there's a 20 and a 21 and a 22.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure, especially as I get older, that I'm flexible in my health to manage whatever's coming.
I think that's hugely important, because I think if you manage your health, and you start your well-being, your exercise, like I'm a mad runner, as much as my body fails me every now and again, but I feel euphoric when I finish exercise, and that's really good for my brain.
Of course.
And it makes me feel better and also calms me down. But it's also what we put into our mouths that fires the engine. Like if you put wrong stuff into your food, you're going to feel not so good.
But I think everything's inputs and outputs. So if you're looking at outputs in your life in any aspect, I use a tool called the Wheel of Life. But if you're looking at outputs and you're not happy with them, then you go, well, what are the inputs?
Yeah.
And you are right about what we're intaking in terms of food or drinking or whatever we're doing, the air we're breathing, the stuff we're reading, what we're listening to, our own self-talk. There's a lot of stuff coming in that we've got absolute control over, and therefore, if we choose to control that in our response to it, then inevitably our outputs get better.
Mm.
And so my work's all about helping. I use language that kind of emerged as I was growing through what was going on with computing. So I use the notion of programming. What are we programming our body? What are we programming our mind? What are we programming our brain with? Therefore, what are the outcomes? We're always running programs.
Yeah.
And the trick to know is, what are the programs you're running?
Yeah, it is the program that is coming into us, but it's also coming out. But how do we manage that? And whether you want to call it a mindset, whether you want to call it a positive mindset, or knowing yourself and knowing when things are not going so well, how do you adjust that? What do you need to do to adjust the way that you think? And maybe you're feeling at a particular time, maybe you have to adjust certain things in your head to recognize that you're going through a challenging time or adversity or anxiety or whatever.
I was listening to, I don't know what it was the other day, I think it was doing a meditation with my wife, and we were listening to someone, and they mentioned this notion of, if you stand over a pond of water or a small lake or something, or loch, as I like to say as a Scot, but if it's turbulent, and it's turbulent because of stormy kind of weather. So in our lives, we're often turbulent experiences. There's so much going on in our lives. We've got the apparent madness of the world at the moment. We've got all this stuff going on. And then you want to somehow or other take control of your thinking in that turbulence, to think a positive thought, to think about something you want to achieve, even just simply a loving thought. What is the potential, its impact? Probably not a lot in that turbulence. So if you threw a stone in, you wouldn't even notice the splash. But if you can flatten the lake out or the pond out, so it's flat, calm, everything's peaceful, and even if you throw in the smallest pebble, it'll create ripples.
Yeah, that ripple effect.
Becoming calm, going inside yourself, going into your real wisdom, going into listening to that small voice, going into see if you can resonate with who you really are, and therefore making connection to whatever you believe in. Even if all it is making some sort of, you've mentioned the term conscious and subconscious, even if you're just touching some subconscious, knowledgeable awareness of your life's journey to make better decisions, to think better thoughts, it's from that place. And it's actually only from that place can someone truly find out who they really are, what they should be doing, how to approach something from a place of calm. So a big part of my work, as you know, is a kind of active meditation methodology.
Yeah. And it does work. And you've mentioned several times in the past Napoleon Hill, Think Rich, Grow Rich. And I think it was is it chapter 3 or chapter 4 where you go inside, and I've used that, and you speak to your inner coaches, and each coach is slightly different to what they do and say. And I explain this to other people, and they start to look at me going, what? And they go, well, this guy actually did this over 100 years ago.
Well, it was Andrew Carnegie, arguably the richest man that ever lived, who shared this wisdom with young Napoleon, who was 18 years old at the time. Because that book is amongst the most sold out books in the history of non-fiction ever. I've met literally hundreds and hundreds, indeed thousands, often at sales conferences when I'm the guest speaker, and the guys have been given the book as part of their thing as they went into the particular business selling. Very few people remember that chapter because it goes right over their heads.
Yeah.
And actually, we've been doing some research. My present client, we're not ready to bring it to the masses, but I can tell you that looking at brain patterns and looking at some other profound measurements, what they were talking about over 100 years ago is really where it's at.
Yeah.
And modern science, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of universities. So how someone can arrogantly allow these ideas to go over their head, I don't know. But the truth is that hundreds of universities are in this space now. They're searching for the inner space thing. That's right. Yeah. As well as the outer space thing. And they want to get rockets to Mars or rockets to Venus now. Well, we need to get the rocket inside to find who you are. And if I ask audiences, what do you think we are at our core? Inevitably, we boil it down to just love, a vibration of love. And if that's the case, then salespeople should absolutely be sure that they're loving their customer first. And they're there to service it, not just to get a purchase. But how can I understand you better? How can I understand your purpose? What's the purpose of your business? What's the purpose of the company you work for? What's the purpose of your team? And how can I serve and help you do that? And if that means I sell you a product, fantastic. But is there anything else I can do? Could we have a chat? Could we go for a cup of tea or something? And out of that, strong relationships and trust and the expression of love always comes sales. Yeah. If, of course, the salesperson loves the product. If they don't love the product, they need to find a product they love.
Yeah, I completely concur. And it is really understanding the other person. And I totally concur. And I think take the word sell out the equation.
Yep.
Because what you want to be doing is giving them value, giving them finding the core of the challenge. And that goes with everything, even with your coaching, and when you're training people, is to get to their core of how they can understand and get to their passion, get to their fire in the belly. Like as much as you've got a lot of fire in your belly, and I have, because I love what I do, and I know you do as well.
Absolutely.
It's getting other people to love what they do as well, and finding the core things as well. And you mentioned the ripple effect, and that's I was going to actually say that before you did, and you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. And I think when you throw the stone in the water and it is dead calm, what our intention is to make that ripple effect and to connect with other people in a positive way. Because I've been practicing that for a while, and you definitely notice the difference. Rather than getting really nagged out in your head and get worried about this, and you get anxiety and you get stress, and then you get imposter syndrome, and then you get this, and you generally just don't do anything because you're too wrapped up in the emotion or what's going on without actually going, well, I need to do something.
Yeah. I suppose going back to the pond idea, whether a storm or whether absolute calm, you need to realize you're in a boat. And some people don't realize they're in a boat at all. So they get blown around all over the place, and as a storm shows up, we really need to have some sense of purpose for why am I in the boat and where am I heading? What is my destination? And whilst in my life and in my work, I collected lots of destinations, wonderful things, places, people, homes and all these other things that we do in our life. But you've always got to have at least one passionate future you want to manifest. If you to really get clarity in that will drive people through the biggest storms. Going back to the work of Andrew Carnegie, which led to Napoleon Hill's work in chapter 3 or 4, whatever it was, you nearly need to have some notion of an inner conversation with a wiser consciousness than yours. It's an imagined thing. It's a right brain tool thing. And some people would manifest it just by praying to a god, and that's fine. I'm not knocking any of that. But it's, whatever it is for you, you need to make contact. If it's just your deep meditative state, that's fine. And then, so you have this kind of, if you like, big goal. You have this kind of thing about some sort of inner coaching mechanism, self-reflection. And you need to recognize that we're all good at something. Every single one of us. In fact, Carnegie's grandmother, before he left Scotland, a 12-year-old boy thinking she'd never see him again because he was going on that hazardous journey across the big storm of the sea, the Atlantic Ocean, to get to North America. She thought she would, and she said to him, apparently word for word, she said to him, "The good Lord," because that's the way she thought. That was a language, that was a culture at the time. "The good Lord has given every little boy and girl a gift," she said to him. Instead, "in your job for the rest of your life is, when you meet another human being, is to figure out what their gift is and to help polish it up." And then she added this wonderful comment: "The challenge you'll find is that everybody else isn't looking for the gold to polish. They're looking for the dirt.
Yeah.
They're looking for the gossip. They're looking for the put down. They're looking," and he, by the end of his time, had created many millionaires, and as you probably know, gave all his wealth away before he died. Look, he was a monster as well. There's so many things he did I absolutely passionately disagree with.
I'm sure.
But the wisdom in which he shared about those notions. So I would say, you even in these very highly turbulent times, wars, still COVID coming back again, the economic crises, the power crises, all this stuff going on. You need to have clarity in where you're heading, and you need to have a commitment to it. And ultimately, whatever it is you want to achieve, you need to know the benefits for other human beings if you will succeed. And you need to bear them in mind when you're driving yourself forward to your destination.
Yeah. So what you're saying, once you reach your destination, make sure the impact to others is good, intentional, but makes an impact. Because it's all about making a good personal brand with ourselves, but also good interpretation of how others perceive ourselves as well.
Yeah.
So you have that good, calm connection with other people, which I think is hugely powerful.
I think at a simple level, I mean, I've worked with sales guys forever, so typical things I'd find guys in the past. I'd like a new car, I'd like a big house. Sales guys want people to spend money on, by buying, but they spend money all the time. Salespeople are notoriously, spend money all the time, right? So the thing is, if you want a new car or a new house or something, focus on it, be very specific, and drive yourself to achieve it. But who's going to benefit other than you? And having clients, for example, they never think about it. Well, the salesperson that signs me up for the car is going to get some kind of bonus. That particular business in that particular town is going to have some turnover, which means it probably will continue to turn over. The manufacturer has got another sale, so they can reinvest to create new motors of the future that might help us save the planet, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got the fact that there's other people who work in that place. There's a cleaner's got a job, and we need the cleaner. And so who else is benefiting? There's some tax goes into the government that might pay for the NHS or whatever it is. So if you've got clarity around all of that, then you feel even better about achieving your goal. So you get rid of guilt about success.
I love that, and that's something that I learned via yourself and listened to Zig Ziglar as well. Very much along that line. And I've been speaking with his son Tom Ziglar, and he's actually got the mirror imprint of his dad as well. So I love that, and I love even listening. And you said about Andrew Carnegie. I listened to one of Zig's tapes from in the 80s. And I went, that's just so now. What you're saying then, and meditation and all of that stuff then is still apparent now, and it's even more powerful from what he was saying then. It's just like amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, meditation, when I started, people thought I was crazy. What are you doing meditating? What, even more, what are you doing teaching us to meditate? Oh my God, are you brainwashing us? And now the science is there for all to see, to the point where if you're not meditating, you're turning up less than your best. As a salesperson, as a CEO, as a doctor, as a nurse, it goes on and on and on. Meditation is now increasingly understood to be a critical part of life, and getting people to make the time for it, and so on. Yeah.
And I think you could just do it for a couple of minutes, or you can do it for half an hour. You could even do it when you're on exercise, go into a trance. I do. I go into trance, running around the mountains and trees and stuff like that. My head goes into a completely other space. And
but you can meditate by being mindful when you're doing the dishes.
Yeah.
Just feel the water, sense the soapy water as opposed to water without any, and so on and so forth, and really feeling each of the plates and cups and mugs, and you can be meditating at any moment. It's just being aware and being mindful. But what's often really critical is, especially now, is to make sure you're managing your thought patterns, because I mean, the program I've been doing with this client, we've actually used the word mindset in the title. It's got a name then, mindset. And people allow themselves random thought all day long. I mean, you get guys coming on, like my YouTube feed, something, or someone's 60,000 thoughts in a day, or, I mean, who's counting? I don't know. But they've got this notion that there's thousands and thousands of thoughts. And the truth is, no matter how many they are, most of them are without any control. They're just showing up.
Yeah.
And for most people, to me, I've always explained, there's a continuum. At one end, there is, what I would call opportunities, things you're looking forward to, things you love to get hands on. I mean, salespeople have always got those kind of things, of course.
Yeah.
And then at the other side is dangers, things that you worry about, things that keep you awake at night. One side's driven by love, it's positive, and the other one's driven by fear, and it's negative. But the truth of the matter is, at any given moment in that continuum of thought, the vast majority of people are negative.
I've just got a bit of a comment down there from Bernadette. I don't know if you know her. Jack, you're an amazing man, so knowledgeable in your field. I'm riveted here by listening to you. Oh, that's always good to have that.
Thanks, Bernadette. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that.
And look, I think we've almost hit our witching hour. And Jack, you've been very phenomenal here, and I've loved every moment. I'd love to do it again. I always get that hit of dopamine hits when I speak with you, and you give so much knowledge forward to everyone as well. And I've missed seeing you around. Hopefully we'll see you at some point in the future in Dublin, and doing maybe some of your courses again. I definitely will jump onto that again, see you in the real world, which is always good. How can people find out more about you, Jack?
Well, I do have a website, mindstore.com. I've got no immediate plans to do any public courses ever again. If someone shows up in Dublin and wants me to come and do something, then I'll look at it. But I've done that bit. I did that up through that. I am working with corporates because they can guarantee bums and seats.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it having to get bums and seats myself ever again. I've done that. It's a bit of a job, that. So if I get invited, I come. If I get asked to do charitable work, I never refuse. I mean, there's no reason why I shouldn't be to Dublin, but someone needs to take the initiative.
Of course.
But you can get that. They've got a mindstoreonline.com, where there's quite a lot of products, some freebies, some cheapies, then some maybe a bit more expensive. Not great. I don't charge a lot for my gear, my stuff. Not by compared to other people. Listening to lots of other people, I think my stuff's much better. Much better value. But anyway. I think if anyone gets in touch who needs anything, who's been on my stuff before, they know how to do that. I've never knowingly not responded to something, even yourself, Jason. I might not get back right away, but I got back to you. And anytime you want me to come and do something, or even something longer, feel free.
Awesome. Look, I really appreciate that, and have